What is unique about a trucking accident claim is that many different parties could be responsible for what happened to you. In the trucking industry, it is not unusual for one company to own the semi-truck, another to own the trailer, and a third to hire and employ the truck driver. There could also be someone else responsible for the load carried in the trailer. Now, depending upon the circumstances of why your crash occurred, some or all of these parties could have responsibility for your injuries. I have been representing victims of truck accidents for over 25 years, and here are the top 7 things I see inexperienced attorneys miss when representing people injured in truck wrecks. Mistake number 1, relying only on law enforcement investigation to decide who was at fault for the crash. Why is this a mistake in a tractor-trailer collision? First, most law enforcement officers look at a crash from the perspective of a car driver, not a truck driver. Many local officers have no training in the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, a state's commercial driver's license manual, or trucking industry standards. Second, there are often important pieces of information that never make it into a typical traffic accident report. For example, 911 call transcripts are rarely included in the accident report. Photos taken with the officer's personal smartphone rarely make it into the accident report. Even truck inspection violations do not always make it into the report. In fact, experienced truck crash lawyers know to always ask the Department of Transportation inspector who examined the tractor trailer, were there any violations that you found that did not make it into your report? Third, relying solely on the investigating officer's opinion can be particularly problematic in truck crash situations because of the sheer physics of a tractor trailer colliding with a passenger car, which often leaves the truck driver unharmed and the car driver dead or with no memory of the crash. The one-sided story of the surviving truck driver can often sway an investigating officer who does not know how to appropriately dig into a truck collision situation. It is important, therefore, to get an experienced truck accident lawyer to conduct an independent investigation into any severe truck wreck. Law enforcement accident reports should be a factor in this investigation, but a good lawyer cannot and should not stop there. Mistake number 2, failing to send an immediate evidence preservation letter. Many inexperienced attorneys don't realize that there is a computerized paper trail whenever a tractor trailer is on the road. There is GPS data, black box data, driver hours of service records, truck maintenance records, driver cell phone records, and more. Any of this information could be the key in explaining both how and why a truck crash occurred. In other words, it can make or break your case against a careless truck driver and his company. Unfortunately, current laws allow much of this information to be destroyed by the trucking company after only 6 months. That is why an experienced truck accident attorney knows that the first step after being hired is to send a certified letter to the trucking company, the truck driver, and the company's insurance carrier, putting them all on notice that this important evidence must be preserved. You only get what you ask for, so it is also important that this evidence preservation letter lists the most up-to-date sources of information, so the trucking company cannot claim that it did not know what information needed to be saved. Failing to promptly send an appropriately written evidence preservation letter is a huge blunder that your case may never recover from. Mistake number 3, failing to preserve the vehicles involved in the crash. After you've been in a truck accident, it can be tempting to want to get your car repaired or replaced as quickly as possible by your own auto insurance. An inexperienced attorney may even let you do it. This can be a huge mistake. Your vehicle is one of the most important pieces of evidence in your truck accident claim. Your vehicle should be preserved after a serious truck crash until both sides have had the opportunity to hire experts to examine it. You don't usually have to pick between repairing or replacing your car and pursuing a truck accident claim. You just have to be patient while your lawyer hires the appropriate expert and then gives the trucking company a fair amount of time to do their own inspection. This is why it is so important that your truck accident lawyer has a pre-existing relationship with qualified accident reconstructionists. You don't want to have to wait for an inexperienced attorney to find the right expert for your case. You want to be working with an attorney who already has their truck accident team in place. Mistake number 4, failing to get all of the recorded data from the truck. Most attorneys who handle regular car accident cases are familiar with black box technology. Black box is a term used to describe a vehicle's event data recorder, which logs various kinds of data, including the speed and braking events. This information can be useful in determining how an auto accident occurred. A technician certified to properly handle black box data must typically download this information before a vehicle is driven again after a crash. In truck crash cases, however, black box data retrieval is often just the beginning of the electronic data that should be collected. If a lawyer is not familiar with the current state of tractor-trailer technology, they do not know what to ask for. Attorneys who handle truck accident cases must know how to request and preserve electronic information from several additional sources. These additional sources can include telematic control units. This is a type of embedded computer system in a semi that controls the tracking of the vehicle. Most are set to monitor vehicle location, company routing instructions, hours of service compliance, speed, and cruise control use. Onboard video cameras. These are increasingly being used in commercial trucks and buses. When a crash occurs, video from one or more cameras in the vehicle can often provide a clear picture of the circumstances leading up to the incident, as well as the truck driver's actions. Onboard detection and avoidance systems. Truck and auto manufacturers are now producing radar and optic-based systems that can warn drivers of their blind spots, how quickly they are closing on other objects, when they are veering out of a lane, and if they are following another vehicle too closely. Once downloaded, this data can provide a moving map of the vehicles in much the same way a video recording can. Driver's cell phone or portable GPS devices. Besides truck-based technology, truck drivers often carry their own cell phones or portable GPS devices. They can also be a source of valuable data under the right circumstances. Mistake number 5, failing to identify applicable driving standards. Most attorneys who handle regular car accident cases know their state's traffic laws. It is a mistake, however, to evaluate a truck driver's conduct only in terms of traffic law violations. Professional semi-truck drivers and companies are subject to laws which regular automobile drivers are not. A lawyer handling a truck accident collision should be familiar with the other rules that professional truck drivers must follow, like the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, your state's Commercial Driver's License Manual. Now, these manuals are fantastic sources for industry standards that truck drivers must follow to be considered safe. Trucking industry training manuals. These are the textbooks and manuals that the trucking industry uses to teach new drivers and refresh experienced drivers on required knowledge and skills. Trucking company internal documents. Most trucking companies produce their own documents outlining their corporate policies. These documents can come in the form of company handbooks, internal memos, and employee training materials. These resources are specific to the trucking industry. If your attorney is inexperienced in truck accident cases, they probably don't appreciate how violations of these trucking industry standards can help your case. Mistake number 6, failing to investigate whether the trucking company should have put the driver on the road. Many inexperienced lawyers focus only on the careless choices and behavior of the truck driver. This approach can be a missed opportunity in truck crash cases. Experienced truck accident attorneys try to build cases based on a trucking company's systematic failures, rather than the failures of an individual driver. There are a number of preliminary questions that your attorney should be asking about the person driving the truck which hit you, that go far beyond the questions relating to your specific accident. How did this trucking company train their drivers? What was this driver's previous driving record, their previous trucking employment record? Did they have disciplinary records related to dangerous driving? How many accidents had this driver gotten into before they hit you? Now, these questions may seem obvious, but a green truck accident lawyer may fail to ask them, when such questions could lead to additional claims against the company for things like negligent hiring, training, or retaining this employee. Insurance companies know that juries are much more likely to give bigger verdicts against a company who chose not to enforce effective safety policies, rather than a single driver who made a split-second mistake. Don't leave money on the table because your attorney doesn't have the experience to know which questions to ask. Mistake number 7, failing to investigate the culpability of all responsible parties. Due to physics, truck accident cases often involve catastrophic injury or death. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations only require interstate trucking companies to have $750,000 in insurance coverage. That means many small trucking companies today are underinsured if their driver kills or severely injures someone. If it becomes apparent that a trucking company does not have enough insurance coverage to compensate all of a truck crash victim's losses, many lawyers do not know how to investigate all of the potential parties that may have legal responsibility. In a car accident, it's fairly easy to identify the parties at fault. You typically have 2 drivers, and each driver has their own insurance. What is unique about a trucking accident claim is that many different parties could be responsible for what happened to you. In the trucking industry, it is not unusual for one company to own the semi-truck, another to own the trailer, and a third to hire and employ the truck driver. There could also be someone else responsible for the load carried in the trailer. Now, depending upon the circumstances of why your crash occurred, some or all of these parties could have responsibility for your injuries. Experienced truck accident lawyers know that you should never settle with the trucking company until you understand the relationship between the parties and how each party's insurance coverage works. If you don't, you could be leaving settlement money on the table. If you have any questions about how to find the right truck accident attorney for your case, call my firm, RSH Legal, at 1-800-433-0283. It is a free call for anyone who's been injured in a tractor-trailer crash.